Recording. Yes, okay, I'm recording. Okay, so I'm suggesting we start with San Mateo County. Is that okay? Or do we want to pick a new county, Inyo or Modoc, since we've already done a bunch of them? Or what county do you want to start with?
It's up to you. You're the most familiar with San Mateo. We can do that one. It doesn't hurt.
Okay. San Mateo, or maybe we should do the East Bay. We haven't started on that yet, but I know the specific problems I want to solve in San Mateo, so that would be good. And it's sort of prepped up. But Alameda and Contra Costa certainly would be fun to look at.
Yeah, for corded lesson, it's probably better to use the one you have staged.
Yeah, I don't know. There's this. You know what? I'm if you don't mind, I'm going to do. Let's take a look at the map real quick. I'll look at the map point map just for the moment, and then look at the Bay Area and zoom in here a bit. And yeah, this is pretty extensive. But okay, we'll do San Mateo and then we'll do Alameda. Okay, so in the case of San Mateo, you know, the question is how to box things up, as Alvaro and I were talking about, so that the projects don't become unmanageable, and so that we can export them to a system. So in the case of San Mateo County, I created two broad projects, as you guys know. Let me see, this is about where it ends. And one project is everything up here in the Northeast along the Bay. And then the other project is everything basically to, you know, this whole rural area down here. So I haven't drawn that project out yet, but just to be consistent, I'll go ahead and draw it out. So this would be this project here. And I believe the county line is right about here. So that would be the project. Then if I want to be a little bit consistent, this is San Mateo Coast side, we'll call it Project San Mateo Coast side. And actually, I did split San Francisco off. So just, I don't want to make you guys sit here, just watch me doing things endlessly, but I did split San Francisco off. So I'm going to try to fix that right here. This is not the prettiest way to do it. There we go. And then okay, that's close enough for now. So those would be that was the way that I came up with. Now, the original system in the census block grading RDOF, I ran some queries based on population density. So these yellow pins are GPON first with Terragraph second. And then the green pins are Terragraph first with GPON second. So that was what the, but I didn't have the, let's see here. I did not have the 5G LMDS spectrum as one of the options when I did the model. I only had, you see over here, C-band, CBRS. So this all has to be worked out later, but let me rephrase. I need to potentially put in the 31 gigahertz option in. So those are the two projects for San Mateo County. So the reason I want to do a clean build is to show you how to actually go through doing that process. But we'll walk through San Mateo first, even though it's already been done, so we don't have too many surprises occurring. Now, one other thing to mention, you guys, some of you know this. So there's this company named Extenet, and they claim that they have a fiber that runs from Pescadero to Skyline. Then Crown Castle has on their map a fiber that goes from roughly Pescadero to the San Mateo border. And then we know that the Sunesis public build went up to Davenport, and we know it goes over here to 17. This is in the Crown Castle fiber database. This is not in the Crown Castle knows about this, but it's not in their database, interestingly. But it was on their presentation they showed me. So those are some fibers. And let's see, where else? That's really all I found so far that pertains to San Mateo County in the rural areas. And there's obviously tons of fiber in the metro area. So the next step, okay, let me minimize that, is to assign the projects, the census blocks to the project. So in this case, and I suppose at the very outset, we should really assign a lead planner to a county. We should keep some kind of a list, which is probably on that network design document I already did. But there is this issue about having somebody who's fully trained in the tool rather than, so one process is to have a specialist in 60 gigahertz go through the whole project and say, these are the areas we should do 60 gigahertz. And then another specialist that does fiber, and then they'll have a conflict, and that's fine. And then we sort of work through the conflict. I think it should be done with Terragraph. I think it should be done with fiber. Some of them will fall into each bucket. And then as we actually get orders and things, it can change because adoption rate can affect, like, let's say fiber is the best, just for the sake of argument. Higher adoption rate, higher prices, we can spend more on connecting the people via fiber than even we were given by the government, in theory. But so when it gets to the point where we say this is irrevocable decision, that's the question, like signing a contract for a tower. So to assign the census blocks to a project, this is our database, and actually I think the name is misleading. I think it's now called GIS, so I have to change this top part. But just FYI, if you are confused about which database you're in, you can go to File, Database Properties, and it will show you this is the actual proper name of the object. I did add this other query now to export the towers by latitude and longitude. So first we would go to grade census blocks. And and we're focusing on San Mateo County. So we can filter on San Mateo County. You can either right click to filter, or you can click on the column name. So I'm going to click on the column name and just set this to San Mateo County only. Okay, and now we need to set it to only census blocks that etheric was assigned, which I should probably already filter that in this. But at any rate, let's go ahead and, so there's our census blocks. And as you can see, the census blocks up in the north are Brisbane, Foster City. The census blocks in the south are San Mateo, Southwest Coast side. Those are the two projects. Then what one might want to do is look at project revenue. Okay, so let's see here. The San Mateo Coastside project is $474,000 a year, and the Brisbane Foster City is $66,000. So now, and then there's a CPUC kicker, which we need to add into this. So I'll go ahead and do that right now, just so you guys can see that, because $66,000 a year is not a lot of money. So let's put the CPUC kicker in here. And that should be, let's see if I have to actually work out the amount or not. Run, yes, I'm gonna have to work out the amount. Okay, that's a hassle. Okay, CPUC kicker. So I'd have to say if kicker exists, then 10% of reserve. So let's see, annual reserve. Okay, so we're going to call this CPUC kicker amount. I talked to Anita Taft-Rice today. She doesn't think we will qualify for the 20 or 30% rungs. She thinks we'll only qualify because we have to be carrier of last resort, but the rules aren't finished. We know we'll get 10%. So I'll put in 10% CPUC kicker, although I may have already put that kicker. So that's going to be annual reserve for, we don't want annual reserve for location. We want reserve price. Okay, where is that reserve price? There it is. Okay, so let me get that instead. Reserve underscore price. And times 0.1. And you don't have to use a bracket, but it will, doesn't hurt. And we're going to call this an expression. Okay. So hopefully that'll work. Okay, didn't like it because of why. Okay. Expressions you use because there's a summing function going on. That's why. Okay, so let's see what happens if I put in sum here. Is that going to fix it? Yes. Okay. So project revenue report. So in this case, on the case of the one we're worried about, which has very little money associated with it, San Mateo, where is it? Brisbane Foster City. There's an additional 13,000 a month in CPUC funding. So that gives us 80,000. I'm 13,000 a year. So it's about 80,000 a year. We could also put in things like sum of eligible locations. So we can put in here eligible locations and make that a sum. And get an idea. So we have 824 locations. And you could, so at any rate, let's see here. Versus, for example, the other San Mateo project, it's also 800 locations. It's almost 10 times more money though. So that gives us some idea of what kind of money we have to work with. And then there are the technology packages. And that's going to be the tricky thing. If you have to have a matrix, it's not tricky, but work to do, we have to have a matrix because the CBRS license conditions are very different from one county to another. So what is missing from this? And, we need much more detail than what you see here. Let's see here. We've got the GPON with Terragraph, gigabit fiber, C-band. That's not going to be happening anymore. CBRS, PAL, 100. Okay, yeah, that was for planning purposes. So let's see. I guess I should put these as active or inactive, and then we just filter them on that, so we're not looking at stuff we don't need to. So now I have to close the CB grading report in order to edit the technology package. So we'll put here active. And then this is a status field. So that would be called yes, no, new, yes. And then let's go ahead and shut off the ones we're not going to be using anytime soon. Although if we actually buy the 15 million in spectrum from Verizon, maybe they'll consider leasing a spectrum as well. It all depends on whether they think we're suckers or they're their new best friends, you know. So we'll find out. So now I'm going to turn off the ones we don't want to look at. We don't want to look at above baseline. Oh, sorry, opposite. We don't active. This is active. This is active. No, it's not. Gigabit Telegraph, Gigabit Hail Mary. This is now the Tirana. So I'm going to call this the Tirana G3 for the moment. And is that going to break anything? That's my only concern. What was this? No, that might break something. Never mind. Just want to be careful. So that is active. And we want to mention the Tirana, which would be, Ubiquiti has the advantage over Tirana that we aren't power limited. So with the Tirana, CBRS is going to be much better than 5 and 6 gigahertz because the power is going to be 36 dB, which means 16 dB is your maximum antenna at 20 dB power. So basically, you practically can't even use a dish. You can technically you can use as large a dish as you want on the client side, but we are limited to 36 dBm EIRP with the 5 and 6 gig, and it's 46 dBm EIRP with the CBRS. And then there are point-to-point rules for the 5 and 6 gig, which can get you to probably 50 dBm of EIRP on the 5.7 band. But basically, unless we're running the 5 gigahertz stuff at over the normal power level, CBRS is better. Let's see here. The advantage of 5 and 6 is at the right ranges. There will be just massive amounts of spectrum when it's all open. So I guess I should make a note here in the solution description with the Tirana. They're going to be using two 4 by 40 channels, 4 channels in the 5 gig band and 4 channels in the 6 gig band. So that's how they're going to achieve full gigabit. The way we're going to achieve full gigabit in general is by selling 500 megabit solutions and then double ganging them on people that actually order the full gig in areas where they're difficult to achieve. So we don't have to build a single radio system that can hit 1,000 megabits. We have to be able to fulfill customer orders that need the 1,000 megabit. And that can be done by adding a point-to-point or adding a CBRS radio with a 5 gig radio. Obviously with GPON, it's easy. With Telegraph, it's easy. But we don't necessarily have to build a single radio system that achieve gig. I don't see a big problem with coming into these rural areas and offering 100 meg service as the go-to package for the average user, and then the gig as the elite package. And we will. So this is important to understand. We have these rules about when we can test, about speed testing. You guys have to get either familiar with them or be aware. So we have to hit, I think it's something like 80% of our speed on 80% of our tests. So people that have the millimeter wave properly engineered, 60 gigahertz or 31 gigahertz, they're going to have enough channel bandwidth to get their full gig and more. So they'll average well. The ones that are on fiber to the home, they'll average well. The ones that are going to be tough are CBRS and 5 gigahertz combo clients. And so as long as there aren't too many of them or they're doing well, we won't break our speed test problems. And the speed test problems don't really start happening until I think a year 3 or 4. So we have some time. What else is, let's see here, CBRS PAL and 5.6. Okay, what's the difference between the Hail Mary? Okay, this is with PALs. Okay, that's why it's not a Hail Mary. It means we have some licensed spectrum, and that's very helpful when we're talking to the government and the school districts. If we get into technical details, and you know what we're finding is that maybe we shouldn't get into technical details. So in this particular case, there's these two ideas: end-to-end fiber and then a hybrid fiber. So those are whether we want to keep them separate or not. That's how that's set up. This is just wireless to be determined. I'll keep it active for the moment. Although really, I don't think we need that. Gigabit wireless C-band and CBRS backup, that is not active anymore. 5G sublease. Okay, here's your 28 gigahertz option. So we'll call that at this point, that's VZ LMDS largely. There is another company that will sell a spectrum that's real 5G, but in only really lousy places relative to our project. So there's 5 gigahertz sublease, so we'll go ahead and activate that. And now what I'm going to do is, it would be nice to be able to default on active only. But for the time being, I'll just select is selected. Okay, so those are the 5 bombs. And the problem is the CBRS licenses. So to go into that for a second, I suppose we should build a table of the CBRS licenses if we don't already have one. So I'm going to go to the drive now, and I am going to get the CBRS results. And this is a question about talking to the other operators. When do we want to talk to the other operators? So let's see if I've actually got this all figured out yet enough, or if I should just dump it in raw. I guess I'll just dump it in raw. So we'll just grab this table here. Results filtered. Okay, let's just grab the whole table and make a table out of it. Let's see here. Yes. So now I'm going to go to the database. I'm going to create a table. And we'll allow the system to, okay, 133 records. So this is CA CBRS results. CBRS results. CA. The problem with this kind of thing, just building databases on the fly, is why would you import only California? You should import the whole country, but we're moving quickly. So you should put a pin on it and remember to yourself to go back and clean that kind of stuff up. Because now I'm going to be dependent on a table that's got the name CA in it, and I'm going to have to remove that if I make it nationwide. So I don't want to build any queries around this table. So what I'll do, just to make sure I don't have to rename it later, is I'll just call it CBRS results instead. And so now I'll create a query, just query design. We want a query of the CBRS licenses. And those here. Okay, PAL licenses, company ID, and then market name. I think that's all we need. Okay. Now we can sort by, it would be nice to know who these companies are, of course. So let's see where that is in that document we're just looking at. Company ID, company bidder. Okay, got it. Okay. So we want to have the bidder. Okay, and now what we want to do is only have counties that we received support in, I suppose, but I won't get into that just yet. What I want to do now is I want to sum the number of licenses. Sum. And we'll sort by county. Okay. So this would inform us as to, where do we want. So what I'm going to do now, this would get complex, but basically you'd create a table of vendors and you'd flag the ones that you had agreements with, and then you could run a query and it would show you how many licenses you but for now we'll do it sort of manually. So we're focused on San Mateo right now, which is not a good example because San Mateo has no friendlies. And we might as well, just so people understand what this is, I might as well do a global replace on this so that you know who this company is. Wetterhorn and is Dish, and XF is Comcast. With only Dish and Comcast, that's not very ideal. So what I should do is, we have the company type, I believe. I think this will give us a hint. Yeah, okay. So let's see here. The WISPs are the ones we can go after easily, but also Southern California Edison. I don't think we're gonna, it seems like they just won't have time to deal with this is the problem. But they don't have any political problem with helping us if we're helping the state. Whereas, Verizon wouldn't want to lend us their licenses. So if we just filter on WISP only, let's see, contains WISP is what I could put in. Text filter contains WISP. I have these gov. That was sort of mean of me, but at the time, now we're going to be a gov WISP, but at the time, I was, oh yeah, they have government money. That's how they're able to overbid. So these guys were overbidding, the ones who've already got public funding, relative to what else we saw. Okay, so now we could even take it a step further and sum it by county. But for the moment, let me see here. Is this sufficient? Is Etheric in here? Yes. So for example, Trinity, 5 licenses, Etheric and a 101 Netlink, if we can talk them into it. Then Razolink in San Benito County. We could combine our licenses with them. That would be 6 PAL licenses. Visa has 2 in Sonoma. We don't have much activity in Sonoma. Tehama, 4 licenses. And then we have some of these companies may have, like we have licenses in Colusa. Maybe we can let them use our licenses in Colusa. Colusa and Tehama are very close to each other. Cal.net may have some work in Colusa. So I'll call this CBRS license report. And let's see here. And then we'll, so in the case of San Mateo County, we only have PAL to, we only have the general access for CBRS available. Unless we could talk either Dish, Verizon, or Comcast and running a sublease. So you got to look at your lineup of what is the BOMs for the county you want to work with. San Mateo County is an ideal place for 31 gigahertz, but we don't have any urban need there. Our need is rural. So that, the 31 gigahertz is ideal for being able to offer true gig to real businesses because you can go 4 miles. You only need a few towers. Okay, so that's step 1 we've talked about so far, which is assigning the CBGs to a project. And now we have to load the projects to Google Network Planner. And the reason I gave you the preface about the technology package is figuring out what it is you're going to be planning for each county. So so let's go ahead and get started with the network planner now. Let's see here. There's my network planner. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. It's got to be in here somewhere. Here it is. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to create a new project. So let me kill at least one of these San Mateo projects. Oh no, I guess it's all right. So we're going to create a new project. And then the thing is we have to pass ownership of the project around when people are working on them, is what we've discovered. So we really probably should just have one project for each county. And we might need two, though, if people start going in different directions too radically. So we'll call this San Mateo V3.
I think one project or group of project for county is the best way to organize.
Yeah, I think you might very well be right, because the county determines with CBRS, it's very important because it's
Yes, and also we need to know how we're going to deal with the county related with contractual permission when necessarily.
Right.
So
right.
If we organize by county, it will be much better to have a clear information about any kind of external environmental factor or EEF, which could delay the project.
Right. So for import, I did one other thing, which is on the to generate a list of all of our assets. So I believe this was the list I created of our assets. Let me see if this is the right one. But no, there's too many. 2695. That's all of our customers. Yeah. So this was our customer list I generated, and then this was the list I generated of our infrastructure that we have now. If I can get this damn thing to work. It's giving me a hard time. There we go. I don't know why it's taking so long. Oops. So in this case, I'm using the query for G4, G5, 6 APs. And then I'm grabbing a lat and long from the locations table, keying on the NetSuite ID, and then keying on the NetSuite ID, I'm taking the maximum AGL of any antenna that's listed. And that's why this is with an arrow. This join property says all records from radios temp AP, but only those records from static antenna list where the join fields are equal. Because if you made this a join that was where both sides were required, the repeaters that we haven't put AGLs on wouldn't show up. So you're going to see some records, the way you can tell whether your query is working.
When you say maximum AGL, I'm talking about the AGL information provided by the vendors related
by you, Alvaro.
Okay.
This is from the static antenna list.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is the highest any person, and I've now found out our AGL certainly is in feet, and it's driving me nuts that we don't have there's so many records that say AGL that don't reference their unit of measure. So at any rate, I did generate this for the current etheric network.
Okay.
And so 253 sites where we have access points. So I'm just mentioning that right now. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to, first of all, import the sites. So we can do the infrastructure site query. So if we go back here to the main switchboard of the correct database, this database here, we can do a tower site. This is a bit of a hassle because we're going to have to enter lats and longs. So there's many tools for doing that. So we're going to look for the lowest lat in San Mateo County, which is right here, 371295. I'm going to actually write it down. In the bottom right, you can see where it's giving me that info. I'm not worried about the ocean, so I'm not going to, I'm going to use like infinity for minimum longitude. And then I need my maximum latitude, which is going to be the San Francisco border. So we'll call that, well, we might as well get very specific here, because there's probably a lot of towers in San Francisco. So we'll go to 37 dot, I don't know, we'll go to 37.71, I guess. Or
So
maybe,
Alex,
yeah.
I add one table for this information. It's called the GIS range. So I put all of the counties like a maximum latitude, the minimum latitude, and also the longitude and left and right. You want to use that table for? I mean, that's fine. You can get this number directly, or you can look at that table.
Okay, I think I can answer your question. Let me just finish getting the right side of San Mateo County here. Where's my county line? Looks like the county line is all the way down here, which means we should have gotten yeah, that's oh yeah, I filed all this into Santa Clara project planning. Is this in this is in San Mateo County, huh? Is that right?
I have the master KMC, which I created for the vendors, no antenna locations, contains a folder with all the
Yeah,
counties.
no, it's okay. It's okay. I know how to find the county line. This is the county line. Okay, I'm just saying it to myself.
Okay.
So this is the county line. The furthest east point we have is 374748, but that is true. Alvaro has these all outlined, and we can download them. 474. I want the. I'm sorry. This is the longitude. So minus 122.07. Okay. So now I'll run a query. The minimum latitude is 37.12. And the better thing to do would be to have an iterator that could stamp every record with its county, so that we don't have to do this. We can just put in the county. Or make sure that everything that's being loaded in the system has a county. Okay.
So are you saying, for example, draw a rectangle around the county, line?
Well, it would be a function that would be able to get county by passing lat and long, and then you could just run it once in a while to update it. I mean, there are sites online where you can put in addresses. They'll give you back lats and longs. There's also sites online that you pass them lats and longs, and they'll give you back county address. So it's a GIS function to tag a lat and long with its county, and we can write such functions, and we need to. So this is the maximum latitude, 37.7104, 37.7104. And then I'm going to answer Quentin's question in 1 second. And then we've got the minimum longitude. So we'll do minus 127, which is out in the ocean. And we'll put in minus 122.07, which we carefully measured. And these are negative numbers. So we got a data set of 567. Now, what Quentin was asking, I'm going to get to that in a second. So let me go ahead and grab that and just keep it as my little working sheet here. So to properly document the project, it would be nice to go to the RDOF 2020. And I guess I will put this in the GIS. We'll start sort of defaulting to using this folder, and I'm going to create a folder now called San Mateo. And then in here, I'll create the export of the towers. So this is Towers, San Mateo County Tower sites export. Now, and I'm going to get a whole bunch more towers tomorrow from this guy, one of the tower companies. So now we'll go ahead and export that. And I'm being a little, okay, so now we've got our tower sites. So now we want our eligible locations. So we go back here. This one's much easier to produce. We just type in the county. But first, what Quentin asked. So in terms of documenting, you know, it's nice to have update functions that you document so you can see how people did their imports. But this is the InfraSites table, and it's got 2 dialogues in it, just to get you to enter the minimum maximum for your Latin long. That's all it's got. And if we look at the InfraSites table carefully, InfraSites. Okay, so let's look at it this way. So I imported from, this is from American Tower. So it might have been a KML that I have a tool on the remote desktop, and there are many of these tools you guys can find yourself. This tool here, KML Manager, can convert a KML into a spreadsheet. So you can take anything for your vendor and convert it to a spreadsheet. And there are many such tools.
Okay.
This is very old. It's a 10-year-old tool. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I have this KMC master separated by counties and vendors, so I can export what I have on the KMC into a spreadsheet that will help to organize your database.
Just FYI, I'm just showing you proof of concept. This is a KML. I just opened it. Now I can export it. Let's see, export right here. Export. These are the formats you have to export. And usually I export to CSV because oddly enough, Excel isn't there. So there are many such tools for manipulating KML. So you can import a KML that's sent to you from a vendor, and then you would want to put in. I created these fields to be able to track what you uploaded. So these are American Tower, and we have about 354 records, American Tower. Then Crown Castle import, and then
probably you should include a column for the tower type. If the tower self-support, if it is a monopole, it's no guide tower, and the elevation.
Yeah, well, David had recommended that we upload the entire Crown Castle, but I think this should be a Rosetta Stone table. It's just a key table. I think those details should be put in other tables because we want a cheap lookup. But yeah, that would be nice so that when you export the KML, it has all that data in it, right?
Yes.
You know what's going on. So
exactly.
that is true. That is absolutely true. I would do. It's fine with me. We can update this table to include everything you want. Make it a kitchen sink table, and then we can break it down later.
Yeah, that's the idea, Alex.
Yeah. So we just add those fields basically. So I'll make a note. Kitchen sink InfraSites. Kitchen sink InfraSites.
Yeah.
But let's see here. Okay, so Quentin, does that sort of answer your question? We import from a number of sources, from vendors, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Bring them into this table. I made this table lightweight. So this is coming from the antenna registrar, which is considered very, very old information by most people. So this is, this is what we need. We need the biggest data set possible of where we're allowed to go. And so I'll do one, we'll go ahead and make a decision right now for putting in a proposed site. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a proposed site. And what I suggest is we just describe it as proposed. The one that I put in was for San Mateo County in the earlier session we had. I'll go ahead and grab its coordinates. But normally you'd want to do an export of a bunch of sites. You don't want to have to do this by hand because it's ugly and time consuming. I'll go ahead and go back over here to this. I wish I could figure out how to copy these in one fell swoop, but I don't. So now I'm going to create this new site, and that was its lat, wasn't it? Now we need its long. Long. Going back into here. Longitude. Okay. Let's see. And status candidate or proposed. So it is important. I mean, this should probably be a lookup field so we don't end up with all these different names for things. But at any rate, let's see. And source AH proposed cover, improve coverage. Well, I mean, that's obvious. AH proposed. Okay, so now I've got that in that as well. So I'll just grab these two pieces of data, put them in our dump that we did, which is right here and flat and long. So I'll just put this at the bottom of the list. Long. Delete. And then I do think since it's the Bay Area, we should import our sites as well. So this is going to be called owner, where's the owner field? Field D, we'll call this proposed. Okay, proposed. And this is height above ground level. Is this in feet or meters? This is the bugaboo. So it's in feet, I believe. Yeah, there's nothing that high, I don't think, in this area. Okay. So let's do feet. So we'll propose something that's 30 feet, 40 feet tall. I'll make it 30 feet tall. Okay. And so now I've got our towers, and now we need to export our client sites. So now we'll go to the locations export, San Mateo. Okay. So we've got that now. So the key thing we need from Mike from CostQuest is the accurate list of all the eligible locations. But that was very interesting that the CICLU can identify the buildings too. So let's go ahead and go back here. And now we're going to create a second document here called eligible locations, San Mateo.
So basically, you're creating all the tables which you are going to add later on Google Planner.
Right, eligible locations. And I'll go ahead and put in today's date. Yes, January 12, 12 January 21. And now I have to wait for this export. Okay.
So basically, there are three tables. One, existing iteratic asset vendor asset,
Mhm.
and census block locations for
Exactly right, Alvaro. So now we have to format them to, now David would like it if we had a time that we have all these generators already set up so we don't have to screw around formatting, and maybe we'll get there. But for the moment, we have to format the data. So in the case of the Google Planner, if you just type in addresses, pretty sure you'll see it pretty quickly, but I may be mistaken. It might be address template. Yeah, so here's an address template that, Quentin's already working on something. So I'm going to grab this one here, Trinity. This one's just lat and long, it doesn't have address. So let's see here, that's so it actually, as long as you just I'll cut to the chase. You can have lat, long, and address. Those are the three fields that are exportable as an eligible location.
Okay.
Now, for you guys to find that out yourself, you would just export and import the template from each given vendor type of project. So in the case of the, that's usually how you upload a template, is you find out how to download some existing ones. So here we've got import from computer and then download template. So we can download the addresses template if we want to. But it's not going to be very exciting because it doesn't even tell you that you can put, this one doesn't have lat and long. Okay, so at any rate, I'm going to go ahead and create a comment separated value. And I believe we can just put address, latitude, and longitude, and it should all work out. So going back into the remote, should I go? Well, I'll pull it here on this side, actually. So now we'll pull those files. San Mateo.
Alex, I think the idea, if you talk with Mike, to help you how we can organize better the documentation standard, because we have a multiple project, across different counties, and if we don't have a proper documentation, it will be very chaotic, to find the right information very quickly.
Right. Yes, it is tough to get all this done this quickly. Okay, so I'm going to just format this. We've got address, lat, and long. That's all we want. We're going to grab those three. We're going to put them in a comma separated values file, which I'll go ahead and create right now. It's going to be called San Mateo. This really needs to be with comma separated values, but I'll go ahead and put it in here. This is going to be called, we'll call this address template San Mateo Google Network. And we just need these three fields. And just want to
for example, here it should be something like address templates, and then different tab will be in the different counties. That will simplify to just one document containing everything.
Right. That could be, yeah. Problem is that if the data changes, you have to regenerate the document. That's the advantage of databases.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I've got address, lat, and long. I've downloaded it to my local machine. So let's see here. Here you are. Okay, there it is. Address. Okay, and where is it saved to? This is in my downloads directory. So just for my own purposes, I'm going to store it. And, here for now. And now we're going to upload it to the Google Planner.
Mm-hmm.
So import the addresses template. Whoop, that's not what I wanted. Sorry, we want to import from computer, not from the template. Import from computer. And we go here to in this case, the RDOF phase 3 San Mateo directory is where I just put it. And this should, so now it's asking us, is what we're doing this? And we're saying yes. Okay. And now while it's importing that, we can ready, it's already done. This is the one thing I'm a bit curious about, is that I think we should have some addresses over here. So I have to look into that. But be that as it may, they're not part of this project anyway. And we can add them later if we have addresses in here that for some reason aren't showing up.
Well, some areas doesn't belong to San Mateo, belong to Santa Clara. So.
Right. Yeah, yes, Mountain View is Santa Clara, yeah. So at any rate, this is our San Mateo eligible locations that we know of as of now.
Mm-hmm.
What we're now going to do is import these sites. So you can download their sites template and then populate that format. For sake of time, I'm going to just format it on the fly. Sites template. Okay. All right. So we're using, so this is really important. When you get to where you really are defining your BOM precisely, you need these set up properly, these antennas. So each of you has gotten an introductory email, and here in the Google Network Planner document is all the antenna types. So this is a whole rabbit hole. So I won't go into it in great detail, but in a nutshell, Google Network Design Planner, we have a template of antennas here, but I still haven't found, I think we're going to have to create them. So it's it's going to take a little bit of work because you're going to have to code up the bearings of your antennas for each tower. But right now what I'm doing is I'm interested in line of sight. So I'm just twisting things around. I'm setting the beamforming to 16 and I'm setting the maximum power to 30. Let's see here. Isotropic, this doesn't matter because it's a 360 antenna. This bearing doesn't mean anything. And then do we want down tilt or up tilt? Again, it's an isotropic antenna, doesn't matter. But just for consistency, I'll put a mechanical down tilt of 2.5 degrees as a general assumption. But sometimes you're going to be doing up tilt, so you can create a formula to derive your up tilt or down tilt by, and I've got that in the old database by looking at the average height of your customers versus the average.
I have the formula. I have a formula when I do my the new site design. There is a spreadsheet called it's called build setup. No, a build manifest. It's called build manifest, and the build manifest contain the information for the access switch table, port map, distribution switch, the PDU, and also the antenna down tilt, considering the distance, based on what you can see the view chat, the tower elevation, and then you use basic trigonometry and you estimate the down tilt.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, just stop for a second because I have a finite brain. Okay.
Okay.
Let's get the towers in now. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've uploaded so here we want to look at what is it that we need to populate here. We're allowed to have a device name and a site name. So this is something that for the time being, I'm just going to use the IDs for the site name. And the device name is going to be a concatenation of the ID. So let's see, site lat long Enable device name. So those are that's how I want to have my data formatted. So we'll just go ahead and format it over here accordingly. Let's see here. So put in site name, and we're going to have that. Then we've got lat and long, site enabled, and then we want device name. Okay, so site name enabled, and then device name. Okay, so actually, sorry, it's a bit messy what I'm about to do. Just like this. Then we know there's this enabled field that's going to be here. And then after that, it's going to be device name. Enabled device. And let's make sure I've got this right. I'm not using underscores. Okay. Site enabled. Okay. Site enabled true. And then we
So, Alex, sorry, I interrupt you. I look at your video to do this process. I add one query to generate this process kind of automatically. You want to give it a try to see if that is the result you want. Basically, I put all of this one in the query.
okay. Let me make a note. But let me finish what I'm doing first.
Okay.
Okay, concatenate device, and then we just want to have underscore 0. So that's just creating a device name out of the site ID. Okay. Yes. Okay. And now we don't want any of this data dynamic any longer. So I'm copying everything and pasting it to values. And then I'm nuking the rest of this just for the hell of it. Well, actually, you know what? It would be nice to have those tower IDs in there. I guess we might as well get all that in here. So let me undo. So I'm going to create a new site name that includes some data in it. Site.
You're talking about the tower ID provided by the vendor, right?
Yeah, just give me a sec. Concatenate. I'm trying to, it's got to be unique. Okay, so that's going to include that. And then we want to have the vendor. Marcy, Camille, everyone is listening to you right now. Okay, I'm on a conference call. Okay, let's see. Okay. Well, I don't know that she wants to have information disseminated. Okay, so we've got the site ID, the tower company, and then we've got the, okay, so now I've got a unique identifier. It's not very pretty, but that should be adequate for now. I'll give me a channel later. Okay, yeah, it doesn't want to cooperate. I see why too. Okay. And now we need to have the device name. Okay, so there's all of our IDs. This doesn't make sense though. Means my IDs are not going through right, are they?
I'm looking right now the device ID from Chrome Castle. Let's see if that's is the naming convention from them.
Okay, got it. So why is it just called proposed? Okay, so now I need to set up the, I guess I'll leave the, okay, so we'll just grab that.
Yeah, we have the site ID and site name. According to what I saw here on Chrome Castle.
Not with the Google Planner, no.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think there's oh, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. At any rate, let's see. I want to get my device names all the way to the bottom.
Yeah.
Control function end.
And by the way, the site name is based on the physical location address. Sometimes with Crown Castle.
Well, yeah, this is for generic objects, though.
Mm-hmm.
This could be anybody. What's wrong here? Why aren't I seeing? Oh, I'm too far out. That's why. Okay. So, okay, that's good enough. Okay. So now what I need to do is I need this to be frozen. So let's freeze this. A special values only. Okay. And okay, so that's good. Now we can go to this and copy it, overwrite this, paste, values only. And now we can get rid of all of this extra information and just copy all this to the upload document. So we'll grab this information and hopefully we can just move that over here to this site template right here. And now we need to grab this information at the top and make sure it doesn't do anything strange. You'd be careful when you're dragging down because sometimes it will start increasing numbering instead of keeping flat values. So now we've accepted that control function home, control function home. And I will save this as sites template San Mateo square, just because to remind myself this is using lats and longs. Squares. Google Network Planner. And I'll just keep that in my San Mateo directory and I'll upload it as well. Documents, Etheric, phase 3, San Mateo, and save. Now I will upload it to the drive so that we have a consistent set of files from today. And now we're going to do a upload of this right here. And now let's try uploading it to the project. So now we're going into the project and we're going to upload the sites. Computer, hopefully that will work. Seems happy enough. Upload. Then there's deciding, which technology you want for the project. And the good news is you can change it. Okay, view error. That's okay. Yeah, I think it's because they're just two unknown errors. So we got an error. So it'd be good to know what the error is, so we know the project isn't corrupted. But there is that one site that I put on, which we didn't have before. This is my, as you see, proposed. Mm-hmm. So then what we do is we would probably want to upload the etheric sites as well.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I think I have that. Import from computer. Let's see, that's sites template ENI. So I'm going to skip over this step, but I will upload it to the folder so you can find it. But this is the whole Bay Area. But I believe you can, have any of you guys worked with the network planner long enough to know whether you can select a whole area to remove everything from? Nobody knows. Okay. So we'll just
through network planner or through other tool?
label from file. Oh, it doesn't have a site name. Okay. So let me go back. Oh, cancel. That's what I want. Cancel. Okay. We're in the wrong project now. Great. Where is the right project? Let's close this so we don't have any more problems. What happened to my project? Strange. Did you guys see where it disappeared to? Huh. Okay. So let's go back into the Google Planner again. So now I want to import the from this, but let's see if there's some problem with this file first. Okay, I see. Sites template. Let's close this one. Okay, and what was the problem with trying to open this one? I'm gonna have to open another way. It looks like. Where is it? Sites template ENI. Here it is. Okay. So there's the CSV. Okay. And why wouldn't this work? It's set to the same parameters as we had before. So let's see what happens if we try to upload this, save as. Okay, that's in RDOF phase 3, sites template ENI. Okay, so let me upload that to the project. Let me upload that to the project import. Phase 3. Get modified. And we want this one right here. Okay, this one has site. Let's see if it's still uploading. It says, there we go, uploading. Okay, so now I'm going to remove, this is where I'm going to find out how good an object this is. This looks like something. Zoom to bounds, draw a polygon. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's an easy way, but let's hope. Nope.
What about the node which is in the middle of the ocean?
Yeah, that's coming straight out of our database, so clearly that's not good. I wish there was a, I mean, I'm going to have to watch this, but maybe if I draw a polygon, I can get rid of all this stuff. Let's find out. Nope. Yeah, so this is going to, let's see, I want to get rid of this polygon then. So here's our layers over here, and there's our polygon. Delete. Interesting. It's already viewing it as a KML. Delete KML. Okay. So yeah, it's not that simple to remove things. So that's the hassle. Gotta remove all this stuff. So I'll worry about that later. Not right.
Yeah.
We've got the towers imported now that are both etheric repeaters as well as, and you'll see that it's already able to compute basic line of sight.
Mm-hmm.
And there's your, your trees.
Yeah, the elevation with Fresnel.
That tells you why he's having trouble. This thing needs to be jacked up. So what's the elevation of this proposed site. So you look at the equipment on this site, and it's set to 6 meters.
18 feet.
That doesn't look 6 meters to me, but maybe it is. So let's set it to 15 meters. Oh, that's at the client site. Whoop, no, is that the client? No, that's at the tower site. Is that?
Yeah, the
yeah.
client side, normally it's 20 feet or 10 feet. Yeah, more likely 20 feet.
Let's put this guy with one of these. No, this is for the client. This is for the client, I'm pretty sure. So we, but now it's set to 15 meters. Huh. Okay. So this is a site.
12.5.
Okay. 15 meters. There's our path. And so now let me get out of that mode and just look at this client. That is a global assumption of the project. So we go to the project, the user antenna is what we want. So I'm going to change the user antenna to be this 25 dB gain antenna. Let's see here. We're going to set the average client height. Let's set it to 8 meters, which is about 25 feet, or even 9 meters.
Normally I use 20 feet or 6 meter.
Right. Well, I'm going to make it higher for the present moment.
Okay.
So let's see what we got here. Just drop a pin. What happened? Yeah. Hard to say. Okay. So now let me take a look at the tower site. Can I close this? There. Okay. So let's look at this tower site. And in this case, it's an isotropic antenna that's 15 meters above ground level. And that just does not make sense when you look at when we click on one of these customers and you look at the view shot, it doesn't look like it's that high. So let's find out. I'm right. Okay, let's take another look. That does look correct. And but without propagation, that can't tell us what its estimated signal is. So we can, if we run propagation, that'll give us that info. But we'll be sitting here for a little while. So where are our layers? So there's your address layer. And then if you look here under the site pin, you'll see, this is in view. See, these are sites in view, Pomponio and Propose. And then you can export the sites. Can you export addresses though? Let's see.
Can you export into a KMC as well as spreadsheet format?
Don't know. No, definitely not. No.
Okay.
They're trying to basically, kill everyone who's using Google Earth as a back end. And I don't know what's going on, but it's pretty political. So, the next step would be to run, for the technical, person, you want to run your propagation now. But for the line of sight person, we know what work we have to do. We have to determine where we're, so for me as a designer, I might, the question is, would I put in a fiber line here or would I put in towers here? Where's an area that but we definitely clearly would need to get something providing coverage, to this area. So I guess I would run propagation next. To see how our coverage is. So there's an interesting feature here, which is where we create this, the boundaries for your project. So we're going to do that right now, just for the sake of argument. We're going to create a boundary for the project. And we're going to focus on the these coastal census blocks. And that allows us to do servedness reports. Okay. So this should now be the project boundaries. Okay. I think that's all we have to do. What does zoom to bounds look like? Okay. And now we should be able to run a propagation analysis. And that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to end for now. We'll pick this up in the morning or later tonight.
Yeah, I need to complete the county of Glen because tomorrow I need to start with 3 more.
Right. Okay.
Or-
So
Congrats,
what?
I'll see you guys later.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Now,
David.
Quentin, I wanted to ask you about this query you created.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure. I just like, do I exercise to see if that is what like it's called, I think it's called simplified. You search the word for simplified for the queries.
This one here.
Locations, yeah,
Site export.
locations, yeah.
Okay. So if you did this one, I actually modified it. I
Oh,
didn't-
okay.
So site import simplified. Oh, this is site export simplified. I think you did this one.
Yeah,
This is yours. Yeah, this is pretty slick.
Okay.
Okay, and you've got the latitude bounding. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just for argument's sake, I'll put an upper latitude of minus 40 of 41, lower of 37, left of minus 190, right, left 125, and minus 119. Yeah, perfect. Great. I'll put, okay, so what we do with this is we make a macro out of it so we can mount it into the dashboard. So we go to create macro. Oh, can you close your database for a minute?
Okay, yeah.
Let me know when you've done so. That's weird. It doesn't want me to make a macro. Okay, so the macro we're doing is called an open query macro. It's so stupid you have to do this, but that's the way it is. And this thing is called site export simplify. Okay, so I'm going to read. You have no dependent queries on that, right?
No, this is the only one. I mean,
Okay.
there is a.
Okay, great. Let me rename the object to include Google Network Planner.
Okay.
And our convention is to not have any spaces.
Okay.
In
Yeah, you can rename it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to do like this. We're going to call it site export Google Network Planner. Okay, so that way, site export Google Network Planner. Now, hopefully, you'll already know about that. Site, yeah. Okay, great. So now we'll call this save site export Google Network Planner macro. And now I go to database, switchboard manager, edit the RDOF switchboard. You only have 8 functions. So once you have 8, you have to create a new sub switchboard. So now we're going to run macro, and we're going to run the one you just did. We're going to call this export sites to Google Network Planner by lat long. Okay. Yeah, so once we get the county field in, then we can have 2 dialogues. You can just put in wildcards for the lats and longs and put in the county, but we don't have that yet.
Oh no,
So,
we can update that one.
Yeah. So now it's this isn't refreshed yet. So now here's your button: export sites by lat long.
Okay.
Good. Okay, great. So if you guys don't mind, we'll take a break and
Okay.
pick this up later.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Was this useful or was it a pain in the ass?
It's useful. We need to
Yeah.
follow the logic basically on the how we order the different three tables, which data we need to include. You know, by this way we can work more efficiently with the Google Planner.
Great, great. Yeah. So let me just wind up. Here's the document I've been working on. Is it? Do I have this in the? Hopefully it's not just. Yeah. Let me move it over to the government. Gobierno. Here we go. Active. And we want this is going to be in the. I'll just put it here in the RDOF-GIS. And this is the overall process. So I have to dump it into the root. So we're at the stage right now of getting maximum line of sight possible. So we need to, the next stage is what towers to add on that map. So that'll be a good stage to start on. So I'll stop the recording now.